revealed in the divine. 7 miraculous reasons God hides his chosen ones like Enoch. In the snug village of Upper Wycliffe, nestled amidst gentle hills, a mysterious illness swept through like a tempest. Fear gripped the townsfolk, igniting whispers and worry. But then, Grace, whose faith shone brighter than the sun, began experiencing vivid dreams. Each night, she drifted into a realm where angels danced and God spoke in whispers. "Stand firm," echoed in her soul like a heavenly mantra. This divine encounter ignited hope as families struggled under the weight of despair. Her dreams were filled with symbols, golden light illuminating dark shadows, figures walking in vibrancy, and the promise of healing flowing like a river. Each message felt powerful, crucial. Grace rushed to share these revelations with Pastor Thomas, the village elder whose wise heart could discern even the faintest hint of God's plan. As she spoke, he sensed something profoundly sacred in her words. "You are a vessel of hope, Grace," he urged, faith flickering in his eyes. "Embrace this calling." Yet, skepticism lingered among some church elders. "What if this is mere folly?" one asked, casting doubt like a storm cloud over her newfound purpose. The weight of their skepticism gnawed at Grace's resolve as the illness encroached closer, claiming beloved relatives one by one. She battled within, torn between faith and familiar fear. Her own loved ones were counting on her. Could she bear to lose them? In those moments, despair clawed at her heart as fervently as any illness. One evening, she sank to her knees, tears flowing freely as she pleaded, "God, give me a sign. Grant me a miracle." The words poured out like a rush of water. In her heart, she thought of Enoch, who walked closely with God, a reminder that even in shadows, there is light. She longed for that kind of closeness, that trusting relationship with her Creator. Suddenly, her family began to change. Out of nowhere, a miraculous healing washed over them, restoring vitality like a fresh spring bloom. Grace felt warmth enveloping her entire being. Could this be God's answer? Whispers of hope fluttered amongst the villagers, tales of newfound strength, visions, and dreams of healing expanding like wildfire. The church overflowed, voices rising together in fervent prayer, breathing life back into the community. However, even as excitement spread like sweet incense, Grace wrestled with an unsettling question: what purpose would God reveal, and why did he seem to hide his chosen ones? Diving deeper into her dreams, she sensed a cryptic message intertwined with light. It hinted that darker trials lay ahead. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the village on the brink of transformation, Grace stood trembling between faith and uncertainty. The echoes of her dreams visited her at night, laced with purpose but veiled in mystery. Would she possess the courage to walk forward? Or would the heavy veils of doubt and fear shroud her in darkness once more? As the quiet village prepared for either salvation or further trials, the questions loomed, tantalizing and profound, as elusive as the morning mist, but as undeniable as the light breaking through. In the nights that followed, Grace felt as if the walls of her room pulsated with divine energy. Each flicker of light from the candle flames seemed to dance to the rhythm of her heartbeat, whispering secrets only she could grasp. She lingered in the twilight of sleep, waiting for the next vision, the next message from the heavens. But doubt gnawed at her. Were these dreams truly from God, or simply figments of her anxious heart? One evening, as she knelt by her window, the village bathed in the soft glow of dusk, she closed her eyes and spoke aloud, "Lord, reveal to me the truth. Show me what lies ahead." The stillness enveloped her, and in that sacred quiet, she felt an unusual warmth wrap around her, like a comforting embrace. With every breath, a flicker of understanding sparked within her. Just then, A soft knock at the door broke her focus. It was Lucy, a neighbor and close friend, her face drawn tight with worry. "Grace, I've come to ask for your help. My mother is very ill. The doctors say there is nothing more they can do." Tears welled up in Lucy's eyes. "I thought maybe your dreams could guide us." Grace's heart thudded in her chest, a mixture of fear and determination swelling within her. Could she really be a beacon of hope for someone else? What if she failed? But then she remembered her dreams, the golden light, and the promise of healing. This was her moment. "Let us pray together," Grace replied softly, her voice steadying as she led Lucy into the warmth of her home. They knelt, side by side, the weight of their prayers rising like incense. Grace closed her eyes tight, visualizing the warmth of goddess love descending upon Lucy's mother. With every word she spoke, she poured her faith into the air, trusting in the invisible hands of heaven. As the evening deepened, a sound like wings brushed against her skin, almost imperceptible. Grace opened her eyes, startled yet hopeful. Had she just imagined it, or was God truly drawing near? Then it happened. A serene peace filled the room as if time itself had paused. Grace felt a rush of vision enveloped her mind. She saw Lucy's mother bathed in the same golden light from her dreams, vibrant and whole, laughter bubbling like a brook. In that moment, the doubts that had haunted her melted away. "She will be healed," Grace murmured, her heart bursting with confidence. With newfound strength, Grace relayed the vision to Lucy. Her friend's face transformed. Hope ignited where there had only been despair. Fear still lurked at the edges of Grace's heart, but this was a battle she felt equipped to fight. As they parted, Lucy's eyes gleamed with determination. "Thank you, Grace. You're a true friend, a light in these dark times." But just as Grace felt a swell of joy, a chill of foreboding slithered down her spine. What deeper trials awaited them on the horizon? Why did God shield his chosen ones yet call them to be instruments of change in the world? As the days drew closer to that inevitable moment of truth, Grace knew something significant was about to unfold. With the village healed or broken depending on the trials ahead, she was left grappling with the vastness of faith and the burden of destiny. Struggling to maintain her resolve, Grace pondered the heavy question of her spirit. How much faith is required for the divine to intervene? The questions wove through her heart a tapestry of hope and uncertainty, leading her toward the next challenge that would shape not just her faith, but the fates of those she loved. What revelation awaited her next? The dawn broke with a soft, radiant light spilling into Grace's room. She awoke with the weight of her vision still fresh in her heart. The golden light wrapped around her like a cloak, assuring her that the day held promise. She rose from her bed, a surge of purpose coursing through her veins. Today she would see Lucy and her mother again. Today she would stand firm in her faith. As she prepared for the visit, Grace's thoughts wandered to the nature of faith itself. She had prayed for clarity. She had begged for signs. Yet what did it truly mean to follow God's calling? Was it simply about believing, or did it require action? A small part of her still clung to doubt, whispering that she might not be enough. Yet, the vision of Lucy's mother in the golden light burned bright within her mind. She couldn't waver now. That spark of hope needed to ignite in others as well. After a light breakfast, she stepped outside, the brisk air dancing on her skin. The village around her looked different, somehow vibrant and alive, as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for the miraculous to unfold. When she reached Lucy's home, the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. There were muffled voices inside, mingling with the scent of warm bread baking. Grace knocked softly and Lucy opened the door, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Thank you for coming," Lucy said, her voice trembling slightly. "Mama has good moments, but, Grace prompted gently. "She's not well. We need your light today," Lucy whispered, her vulnerability piercing Grace's heart. Suddenly, she realized that it wasn't just about her. Lucy needed her, and by extension, so did her mother. Hand in hand, they walked toward the small room where Lucy's mother rested. The atmosphere felt heavy, thick with uncertainty. In that moment, Grace closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, asking the Lord for guidance. "Lord, give me the words," she began softly, and as she did, Lucy squeezed her hand, both a plea and a promise. Grace could almost hear the murmurs of hope rising like incense, each prayer lifting the weight on her shoulders. They entered the room, and Lucy's mother lay there, frail but holding Lizzie's hand tightly. The warmth of the room melted Grace's fears. She immediately felt a connection, a divine purpose hovering over her. This was why she was called. This was her moment to step into faith without reservation. "Hello, Mrs. McAllister," she said kindly, her voice gentle and soothing. "I'm here to pray with you." Lucy's mother opened her eyes, and within them was a flicker of recognition. Grace could sense a hunger for healing, perhaps more than she had ever encountered. As they knelt together, Grace's heart quickened, and she began to pray. "Heavenly Father, we ask for your grace to flow through this room, bring healing and hope. Lord, as you led me in my vision, I ask that we feel your presence now. Let this family be wrapped in your light." Suddenly, Grace felt that familiar touch, that tingling warmth filling her from head to toe. This was not just an act of faith. This was a divine invitation. In that instant, she perceived the golden light of her vision once more, swirling in the room, cascading over Lucy's mother like a waterfall. Her breathing deepened, a serene smile creeping across her lips. Tears welled in Lucy's eyes, a merging of joy and belief. "I can feel it," Lucy gasped, her voice breaking, mirrored by the emotional weight of the moment. But in that suspended breath of time, doubts began to creep back in. What if it wasn't enough? What if the Lord chose not to act? Grace's heart raced with that familiar tension between belief and fear. She pressed deeper into prayer, determined that the divine promise of healing would be fulfilled as they prayed. She sensed the shift in the air. A promise whisper close, his timing was perfect. What awaited her on this journey was still veiled in divine mystery. Yet, one final question lingered like a cloud in her mind. Was this truly a beginning or merely a prelude to greater challenges to come? With courage surrounding her, Grace awaited the answers of hope that would surely arrive, even against the backdrop of uncertainty. The room was steeped in an atmosphere of quiet reverence, the kind that seemed to reverberate with Grace's whispering prayers. She felt a deep connection pulse between them, almost as if the air itself was holding its breath. Lucy's mother breathed in slowly, her fragile body absorbing the warmth radiating from the golden light that enveloped them. As she gazed into her eyes, Grace noticed something shifting, a flicker of discernment emerging from within the pain. "Lord, grant us strength," she breathed, grounding herself in the faith she was fighting to uphold. This was a moment to trust that the light illuminating their path would guide both mother and daughter to a place of rest and healing. "Do you feel the warmth?" Lucy said, her voice trembling yet filled with hope. "Mama, it's like, it is his light," Grace whispered, reassured by Lucy's conviction. "He is with us." Outside, the world hummed with life, birds chirping in a sweet chorus, echoing the promise of new beginnings. In contrast, the stillness inside the room felt like both a sanctuary and an altar of possibilities. As they continued to pray, the energy built, painting a tapestry of expectation woven with threads of faith. Grace held onto Lucy's hand tighter, feeling the pulse of their united hope, occasionally opening her eyes to witness the transformative glimmer illuminating Lucy's mother's face. She saw a transformation unfolding, not just in Mrs. McAllister but within herself as well. Every prayer was a step deeper into the unknown, and she could feel her uncertainties melting away, replaced by an unwavering resolve. Then, unexpectedly, Mrs. McAllister began to whisper. "Grace," her voice was barely above a whisper but laced with warmth. "You bring light. What is it? Where does it come from?" A question that struck at the very essence of Grace's soul. She realized that even in the simplest moments, God was revealing himself, showing the way through the vulnerable heart of a mother desperate for restoration. "It's his light, Mrs. McAllister. It flows through us, through you. It's hope and it's real." The room radiated a soft glow as Grace spoke. She was speaking not just to Mrs. McAllister but to the shadows that hung in uncertainty, dispelling gloom with her words of promise. The air thickened with faith, and moments passed like eternal echoes of devotion. "Thank you for sharing this light, Grace," whispered Lucy's mother. Tears glistened in her eyes, reflecting the golden hues engulfing the room. The tear-streaked face of Lucy's mother was now a beacon of surrender, embodying the fragile beauty of faith amidst trials. Then, as they continued to pray, a sudden peace flooded the space. It was as though time paused to acknowledge the weight of their gathered hearts. Grace could feel something shifting not only around them but deep within. Yet, a flicker of apprehension came uninvited. What if this peace was just an illusion? What if the healing they sought remained out of reach? "Lord, grant us courage," Grace finally called, her voice rising in strength and determination. "Help our unbelief." The room responded with the stillness of a sacred hush, and then quite suddenly the unmistakable sound of laughter echoed softly, breaking through the tension like morning light. Grace's heart soared even amidst uncertainty, recognizing it as a divine call. In that moment, a vision flooded her mind, vivid and bright. A community gathered together, lit by a fire of faith, their hearts intertwined through shared stories of struggle, resilience, and hope. What if, she pondered softly, what if our waiting leads to a greater revelation? What if this is merely a moment of preparation for something far beyond what we see? Unnervingly curious, she shared, could it be that our greatest challenges shape not only our own faith but the faith of others around us? A belief began to form, seeds of conviction taking root. As they continued to pray, the feeling of something much larger than themselves pulsed through the air. Grace realized the narrative of healing extended beyond physical restoration. It was the awakening of deeper faith, both in herself and in the hearts gathered around her. And as the hours passed, she felt the promise of transformation hovering like the golden light of her vision, beckoning her to step forward, willing to seek out the greater purpose awaiting beyond the flickering shadows. But just as she settled into this newfound strength, a whisper beckoned her heart. What happens next? What awaits when faith collides with destiny? A soft breeze rustled through the open window, carrying with it the aroma of spring blossoms, as if the world itself echoed the divine mystery of what was yet to come. The laughter in the room faded into a profound silence, yet the air remained charged with an electric possibility. Grace took a breath, feeling the pulse of the moment resonate deeply within her spirit. She turned her gaze back to Lucy's mother, who appeared lighter, as if the weight of her burdens had begun to lift with each prayer whispered. "Do you feel it?" Lucy asked, wide-eyed with astonishment. "It's like the clouds are parting." Grace nodded, a smile breaking through her earlier apprehension. "Yes, I can feel his presence growing stronger." It's a sacred moment. She straightened her posture, her heart now resolute. What had begun as a simple act of compassion had turned into communion, a holy exchange between souls. Yet, within that sacredness, there was a sense of the unknown, a readiness for what was to unfold. "Let us bask in this light a while longer," Grace suggested softly. As they settled into stillness, the room spoke volumes without words. The flickering torchlights danced along the walls, moving with a rhythm that felt synchronized with their heartbeat. Gradually, Lucy's mother's expression shifted. "I feel as though I'm floating." Her voice was filled with wonder, and her speech began to flow with the ease of an unburdened heart. "Grace, I see more than just you in this room. I see hope for tomorrow." Tears welled in Grace's eyes. It wasn't just about physical healing. It was about spiritual awakening. "Your faith is shining brightly, Mrs. McAllister. Know that the light surrounds you, protects you." With each passing moment, it felt as though the very fabric of their reality was bending, revealing streams of grace flowing like a gentle river. Was this the promise fulfilled? Was this what faith could do? Yet inside, doubt nudged at the edges of her heart. What would the outcome be? Would shadows return? Would the world outside fail to see the change igniting within? "Trust," echoed a voice within her soul. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a calling. "Be still and know that he is God." Grace's eyes fluttered shut, She envisioned the community she had glimpsed before, the members standing together in faith, strong and unyielding, holding each other up during the storms of life. What if this was a collective awakening? Father, open my eyes, she breathed, longing for deeper understanding. And that very moment, a golden light intensified, illuminating every corner of the room. It poured over Mrs. McAllister like liquid sunshine, igniting her spirit anew. "Oh, the warmth, it's like I'm being cradled," she exclaimed, laughter spilling forth, filling the sacred space. Lucia's face lit up, filled with awe. "Mama, you're glowing." As Mrs. McAllister began to sway gently, a new depth of joy radiated from her. It was as if she was both being set free and grounded at the same time. Grace felt it too. The laughter swelled, rising like anthem notes into the heavens, a song of deliverance echoing the power of fellowship. Then, just as unexpected, a figure appeared at the doorway, silhouetted against the soft light spilling in. A moment of suspense hung in the air, and the laughter quieted. "Can we join?" the gentle voice asked, filled with warmth. It was a familiar face, one Grace hadn't seen in years, their old pastor whose teachings had once profoundly impacted her life. With her heart racing, she spoke from an astonished core. "Pastor John?" "Yes." He smiled, stepping into the light. "May I partake in this sacred moment?" In synchrony, the three of them felt the ripple of connection and understanding that they stood at the brink of something extraordinary. What new beginnings awaited them? What transformations were prepared at the horizon of familiarity and faith? As Grace met Pastor John's gaze, the echoes of laughter beckoned once again, mingling with a joyful anticipation that throbbed through her. Perhaps, she wondered aloud, this gathering is the call to rekindle a faith that brings communities together, and with that thought illuminated, she realized how fragile yet powerful their intertwining destinies could become. Would the light of faith spread among them, igniting hearts and reshaping futures? A hush once more closed around them, the divine mystery lingering not as an ending, but as a beginning. What divine connection awaited just beyond the threshold of their shared trust? With Pastor John's arrival, the atmosphere shifted, as if a gentle wind had swept through the room, stirring the embers of hope into a vibrant flame. Grace felt the energy starkly. It was a blend of familiarity and fresh purpose. There was something electric about this reunion, a divine thread that began weaving itself back into their lives. "Grace," Pastor John exclaimed, his eyes beaming with joy. "This is incredible. To see you here, witnessing this miracle, it brings me back to the heart of our mission." Lucy's mother held onto Grace's hand tightly. "Have you witnessed what has happened?" she asked, her voice quivering with emotion. "I was lost, but the light, it's like I was reborn." Pastor John took a moment, absorbing the warmth filling the room. "Oh, my dear sister, this is only the beginning. Our God is a God of restoration. He delights in bringing us back to life, even when the world tries to convince us that it's too late." Grace felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She had heard these words spoken in sermons, felt their weight, but now they resonated with a deeper truth. This was real. This was happening. Felt like an awakening for all of them. But what if, Lucy whispered, a shadow flickering across her face, what if this moment ends? What if she falls back into despair? Pastor John knelt down to meet Lucy's gaze. "My dear, faith is not merely a moment. It's a journey. It requires us to hold on to hope, even when shadows loom. We must gather, share, pray, and uplift one another. This light is not just for you, Lucy. It's for all of us." Grace nodded, heart swelling with understanding. "We have to be a community together. No more isolation. We must nurture the spark within one another." As they spoke, the light in Mrs. McAllister's eyes reflected each word, each sentiment shared, creating a circle of shared faith and vulnerability. Grace believed it was a divine circle, one that didn't allow despair to slip through the cracks, but instead fortified their resolve and connection. With every exchanged thought, the air around them thickened with an unseen power. "What if we turned this into something more?" Grace ventured, the fire in her heart igniting anew. "What if we gather others who seek this same light?" Pastor John's smile widened. Let us start a prayer group. We can have gatherings to lift one another up. You may be surprised how many souls in the community long for what you just experienced. Imagine the collective light we could create. Grace, he added, voice invigorated with excitement. The idea blossomed like spring flowers breaking through winter's chill. Grace could envision neighbors and friends, searching for direction and assurance, coming together in this illuminated space. We could call it light bearers, Lucy suggested, a flurry of enthusiasm lighting her voice. Those who carry each other's burdens and lift each other up. Tears slipped down Grace's cheeks, dripping in gratitude. The joy turned contagious. It was palpable in the adoration that filled the air like a sacred perfume. Yes, Grace affirmed, let the light of our journey mark this community. Let it draw others in. They joined hands, anointing their intentions together in prayer, hearts woven into a tapestry of love and hope. The walls seemed to absorb their fervor, reflecting the warmth back to them. As they closed in, the golden light swirled, dancing around them as if joining in their sacred gathering. It felt like the heavens themselves were smiling down upon this holy alliance. But in the stillness that followed, an undercurrent of anticipation lingered. What challenges lay ahead for this new community? Grace's heart quickened at the thought. Was it truly as simple as coming together to share their light? Or were there trials yet to unfold as they boldly ventured into this unknown? What mysteries awaited them on this path of faith? And how would they stand when shadow crept close again? The rhythm of their hearts beat louder as they each held the promise in their palms, ready to embrace whatever beautiful revelation God had in store. As they released their hands, the energy in the room pulsated, each heartbeat echoing the hope they had just shared. Grace glanced around at the faces of her companions, seeing determination mingled with uncertainty. There was a holy curiosity brewing within her, laced with excitement about what they might discover along this path of faith they had chosen. All right then, Pastor John spoke, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, a comforting anchor amid the growing anticipation. Let us mark this moment. We'll meet every week, right here. Share our joys, our struggles, pray for each other, and grow together in faith. We'll be the light bearers we envisioned. The enthusiasm in the room surged, and Grace could feel the sacred resolve tightening their bond even more. But a flicker of doubt brushed against her heart, reminding her that commitment often demanded more than words. It required action. With a gentle smile, Lucius' mother rose, the echo of her faith still strong. We must also reach out to others. There are those nearby who feel as lost as I once did. If we can help them feel this light, she looked around at them, her eyes sweeping across the gathering, then we are truly living out our calling. Yes, Lucy exclaimed. We could hold an open invitation. Let people come as they are. No judgments, just love. We can create a safe haven. Grace could see pastel colors forming in their ideas, like a vibrant canvas waiting to be painted. Each brush stroke of intention added depth to their mission. It felt like they were standing on the edge of something significant, an opportunity to shift their community's narrative toward healing and hope. Their joyous chatter filled the room, laughter intertwining with tears. Yet, amid the excitement, Grace found herself also questioning. What would happen when they encountered skepticism? What if some people doubted the goodness unfolding before them? Every journey will have its challenges, Pastor John said, as if he read her thoughts. Even in the midst of light, shadows will lurk. We must stay vigilant and remind one another of our purpose. When doubts come, we will rise together, just as we are doing now. His words brought reassurance, but they also awakened a potent realization within Grace. Faith wasn't merely about light, but about navigating the shadows, too. It was within those moments of struggle that the sacred truth would reveal itself. A hush fell around them, settling with solemn gravity, and Pastor John lifted his hands, inviting them into a moment of consecration. Let us ask for strength to embrace both the light and the dark ahead. For in each struggle, there is growth. In every storm, new beginnings. Grace closed her eyes, surrendering to the atmosphere thick with faith. Her heart echoed with a simple prayer. God, guide us in unity. Help us shine brighter when darkness creeps in. Time seemed to stretch, and in that divine pause, she felt a surge of peace. The weight of uncertainty lifted, leaving only vulnerability laced with courage. It was a strange combination, but also a beautiful reminder that faith was more profound than mere belief. It was a journey of relationship with the divine. As the evening unfolded, they spoke of preparations for their first gathering, planning invitations that would flutter through the neighborhood like doves. But deep down, Grace knew there was a deeper question waiting to be answered. Would they be prepared for the adversities that might arise in their unyielding pursuit of the light? Determination took root in her spirit, yet the mystery of the unknown loomed large. What trials would forge their faith even stronger? What moments of testing would unveil their truest selves? With excitement mingling with apprehension, Grace parted from the gathering, her heart bursting with the possibilities God had in store, ready to embark on this sacred journey. But as she stepped into the night, a quiet whisper beckoned within. What divine encounters awaited them on the horizon, waiting just beyond the veil of their new beginning? As dawn broke, Grace found herself awakening with a heart still pulsing with last night's energy. The day's potential felt alive and vibrant, a breath of fresh air as she stepped out into the crisp morning. She paused for a moment to gaze at the brightening sky, cradled by soft clouds. It was as if creation itself was cheering her on, whispering affirmations of hope and promise. The day ahead was filled with plans for that first gathering. They had agreed to meet in the park, a place where laughter usually filled the air. Could it also be filled with the echoes of new friendships and shared, vulnerable stories of faith? Grace felt a thrill of possibility. Yet, there was still an undercurrent of anxiety tinged with anticipation. Would anyone actually come? Would they truly feel welcomed? As she prepared for the day, Grace reached for her worn Bible, its pages bearing the marks of prayers and reflections over the years. She opened it at random, her fingers landing on a passage in Isaiah that read, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing." A smile crept across her face. It felt like a personal message from God, a gentle nudge reminding her that they were part of something new. The hesitations lurking in the shadows of her mind began to fade, replaced by a burgeoning faith that this new path was indeed blessed with purpose. She gathered the bright invitations they had designed, each one cradling the promise of connection and love. She stepped outside, ready to deliver them to neighbors, eager for the chance to share this budding vision of community. As she approached the homes peppered throughout her neighborhood, Grace felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Each doorstep represented a potential story, a life waiting to be invited into this journey of fellowship. She knocked on the first door, her heart racing as she waited. An elderly woman answered, her kind eyes twinkling with curiosity. "Hello, dear. What brings you here this bright morning?" Grace smiled, holding out the colorful invitation. "We're starting a gathering at the park to share faith, love, and encouragement. We'd love for you to join us." The woman's face brightened, her hands clasped over her heart. "Oh, how lovely. I've been longing for a connection, something joyful amid life's whirlwinds." With every invitation delivered, Grace felt the warmth of acceptance. Each conversation was a thread woven tighter in the fabric of their community, resurrecting long-dormant dreams of belonging and unity. But the more she shared, the more she sensed an invisible force nudging her towards the unexpected. Then came the moment she had been both eager and frightened for. As she made her way back home, a voice broke through her thoughts. "Grace." It was Tim, a neighbor she hadn't spoken to much. "I saw you handing out those flyers. What's it all about?" His tone was skeptical yet intrigued, a delicate balance of doubt and curiosity. Grace took a deep breath. "It's about bringing people together, sharing our joy and struggles. We want to be a community, Tim, a place of love without judgment." He regarded her with a furrowed brow before nodding slowly. "I think I need something like that, but can it really make a difference?" His question hung in the air like a tangible weight. Could their small gathering resonate in a world often filled with divisions? In her heart, Grace felt a small spark of courage ignite. "I believe it can." Each light we share ignites another. Together we can shine brighter. Will you come? Tim paused, the shadows of doubt flickering in his eyes. But Grace caught a glimpse of something else: hunger. A longing for more. All right, I'll be there, he said at last, his voice firming. As she made her way home, the day's encounters washed over her. Every invitation felt like a step into the unknown, a dance between faith and vulnerability. With the park as their backdrop, she knew they were at the cusp of something transformative, even if the journey was just beginning. Little did she know the call of duty would be tested beyond their casual gathering. What challenges lay ahead as they forged this path together? What discoveries awaited them as hearts opened and barriers began to fall? The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of orange and pink, as Grace stood watching with hope, knowing that the next steps would lead them further into the divine tapestry being woven through their lives. The mystery of what God intended lingered in the air, a tantalizing promise yet to unfold. The next morning dawned with a soundtrack of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Grace awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, her heart beating steadily with excitement. The moment she strolled to her window, she sensed that today was marked with divine promise. The park gathering was only hours away, and in her spirit, she felt an energy, a rhythm guiding her towards readiness. She immersed herself in prayer, asking for the presence of grace and love to envelop each person coming. Lord, help me to be your vessel, she whispered, her chest swelling with anticipation. She even imagined each of her neighbors arriving, their faces brightened with the warmth of connection. Every prayer was an arrow shot straight into the heavens, seeking divine affirmation. After an eager breakfast, she adorned herself in her favorite light blue dress, an expression of joy. She paused to reflect in the mirror, smoothing her hands over her hair, as if trying to keep all the excitement from bursting out. Today was about more than a gathering. It was about transcending loneliness, reaching out to make a difference. Grace arrived at the park early, clutching an assortment of snacks and drinks. The sun beamed down softly, outlining the space in a golden aura, almost like a natural altar set for fellowship. She began to lay out her provisions, placing them on the picnic table as if preparing a feast for her family. Each sandwich and snack felt blessed. They were tokens of love and anticipation. She set an extra plate at the end of the table, hoping it would not remain empty. Her mind wandered to Tim and the elderly woman, both representing pieces of a puzzle she was trying to complete. Less than an hour passed, and Grace began to feel the small pinpricks of doubt. Where was everyone? Was her hope misplaced? Just as she turned to retreat into her thoughts, laughter erupted from some nearby children, a hopeful sound that reverberated within her soul. With renewed courage, she took a deep breath and kept glancing at the path, waiting for faces to appear. The first to arrive was the elderly woman, her hair a cascade of silvery threads, a warm smile illuminating her features. Grace, I wouldn't miss this for anything, she beamed, clutching her bag of homemade cookies. The moment filled Grace with gratitude. She felt lightness in her spirit. Thank you for being here. I can't wait for others to join, Grace replied, engulfed in joy as they commenced a conversation. The connection sparked between them like an electric current. As they chatted, Grace noticed others filtering in, gathering like clouds forming before a downpour. Tim appeared next, apprehensive yet smiling. Looks like I wasn't the only one who needed this, he said, taking in the surroundings, eyes brightening at the sight of snacks and connection. Slowly, each neighbor began to settle in, the park alive with mingling voices and curious laughter. Grace radiated warmth, welcoming others, sharing stories of struggles that seemed too heavy to carry alone. She saw hearts opening, burdens lifting, and each word exchanged was a thread weaving a colorful tapestry of shared experiences. As the sun traveled higher, the laughter deepened, merging with a sense of the sacred in the air. Grace reached a moment of poignant truth. It was no longer just her endeavor. This gathering felt like a divine masterpiece taking shape before her very eyes. But as shadows lengthened, she sensed something stirring, a gentle reminder of the deeper challenges that lay outside this moment of joy. She caught a glimpse of apprehension in Tim's eyes. He was there, yes, But would he truly allow himself to be embraced by community? By grace? Today is just the beginning, but we are all here with wounds and stories. Grace spoke softly, watching Tim closely. As the gathering took on a life of its own, a palpable energy cocooned them, the air thick with transformation. Grace felt a stirring anticipation, knowing they had only scratched the surface of their journey. What awaited them beyond these sunny hours? Were they ready for the trials that might reveal the strength of their newfound bonds? She smiled, deep in thought, her heart yearning for answers that were yet unseen. The experience felt just like a whisper promising that they had far more to discover together. What divine revelations would surface as they moved forward, entwined in the sacred dance of community? The mystery that lay ahead brimmed with hope. The sun sank low on the horizon, drenching the park in amber hues as the first gathering of the light-bearers drew to a close. Grace stood at the center of it all, her heart swelling with gratitude. Laughter bubbled freely alongside whispered stories, the threads of pain and joy weaving a fabric of connection among participants. Each moment felt like a holy encounter. Faces sparkled with newfound friendships, and hands clasped together like links in a chain. Grace marveled at the beauty brought forth by simple acts of faith, how each solace light shone brighter in the presence of others. Yet underneath the warmth lingered a thread of uncertainty, prickling at the corners of her belief. What awaited them down the road? Would this tender flame endure, or would shadows intercede once more? Suddenly, the evening air thickened with a weighty stillness that wrapped around them like a warm embrace, urging everyone into a moment of quiet reflection. Grace took a deep breath, and as she looked around, she felt the gentle tug of divine presence anchoring her spirit. "Friends," she began, her voice steady yet soft, drawing the attention of her newfound family. "Let us bow our heads and thank God for the light He has brought us tonight. We've gathered not just to ease our burdens but to support one another through faith." Heads nodded, and the collective energy in the air shifted. It was transcendental, like an invisible thread woven deeper than words. Each person present craved connection, kinship, a reassurance that they were never alone. As they bowed their heads, Grace felt something deep shift within her, a firm resolve igniting. God had raised them up together for a purpose. It was not just an evening of fellowship, but a commitment to walk this journey together, nurturing their faith amidst the inevitable trials of life. In that moment, tears threatened to spill down her cheeks, but they were tears of joy. "Father," she prayed, her heart crying out for unity. "May our stories intertwine, our struggles woven into triumphs, a testament to your power." The air shimmered around them, and as they lifted their heads, everyone's eyes sparkled like stars, reflecting a renewal of hope. Grace felt a warmth envelop her, a reminder of the golden light she had witnessed in her visions. It was as if God Himself was affirming their shared mission. "Let us hold onto the embers of this night," Lucy chimed in, her eyes alive with excitement. "This is only the beginning. Let us meet each week not just for ourselves, but to spread this light to others who may be in darkness." Emboldened by her words, Grace nodded, glancing at faces illuminated by understanding. "We each bring a light that is uniquely ours. Together we can extend our arms and pull those in need closer." The resolve was palpable. They envisioned a community not defined by distance but by connection through faith. Grace glanced at Tim, who nodded in agreement, a flicker of vulnerability reflected in his eyes. "Let us demonstrate what it means to bear one another's burdens," he said, his voice steady now, "to be a beacon for those drowning in shadows." With that, a wave of determination shot through the group, igniting conversations about outreach, how to invite others, share their experiences, and offer a safe haven for all who sought it. As they dispersed, the unity forged between them felt like an imperceptible bond. Every laugh, every ripple of connection anchored them deeper into the hope of healing. In that sacred loneliness turned harmony, Grace moved through the gathering, warmed by a powerful presence, one that cradled their aspirations, their trials, and their gathered hearts. A quiet whisper from within nudged her forward. "This is your purpose, dear child. Embrace it." With renewed courage, Grace stepped into the evening, the sky ablaze with stars. A profound sense of peace radiated through her spirit. This was her calling, to guide and to be guided, to share the light God had ignited in her heart with the world. That night, as she prepared for bed, Grace reflected on the journey they had just begun, the unveiling of a divine tapestry woven by faith. Her dreams of golden light appeared upon her eyelids, bathing her in warmth and assurance. In a moment of tranquil clarity, she lifted up her voice in prayer once more. Lord, may our collective faith challenge the darkness and illuminate the paths of others. Let us walk boldly into tomorrow with conviction. The soft whispers of her prayer filled the room as dawn's early light crept through the window. Grace awakened to a heart full of hope, ready to meet the day. And as she stepped into the sunshine, it dawned on her that this was just the beginning of something monumental. The divine connection awaited not just for her, but for each soul willing to share their light in the world. What lay ahead was an adventure woven into the very fabric of existence, a shared journey of faith and love. Her spirit ignited with anticipation and joy. Grace felt a soothing presence whisper in her heart. Together, you will shine and reveal glory. With a final glance at the horizon, she felt the electric pulse of possibility and urgency. They were on the brink of transformation for her and for the village of Upper Wycliffe and beyond. Now it's your turn to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will transform your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this empowering journey. Comment your reactions and testimonies about the ending. Share your insights with us. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith in action. Only true servants of God understand the importance of spreading this message and lifting one another higher. Let us shine together,